Hello, this presentation is going to focus on mentoring undergraduate researchers both inside and outside of the classroom. My name's Katie Kraus, and I am a huge proponent of undergraduate research because of the positive experiences I had as an undergraduate student, and now as a faculty member, the benefits that I see for my students. So today we'll do a little introduction. We'll talk about resources that are available to support undergraduate research. I know that many of our attendees are at USU, so I'll really highlight some of those, but we'll also talk about some, regional and national resources as well. We'll talk about some specific ways to incorporate undergraduate research into your courses and additional mentoring ideas. And then we'll just have a little conclusion at the end. So to start out with, why do we do undergraduate research? Well, we know it's a high impact practice, that it supports student learning, helps them be satisfied with their education. It also is beneficial institution-wide because it helps with student retention. Is specifically helpful also for students who are in marginalized groups or who are first-generation students. It also is a great opportunity for students to have customized learning and can really help them gain skills and experience that prepare them for graduate school and their careers. And Utah State is a great place to do undergraduate research. The program started in 1975. It's nationally recognized, and there are so many resources and support for undergraduate research here at Utah State, more of which I'll talk about later. Also wanted to highlight that even for faculty who have a primary teaching role, undergraduate research directly connects to the role statement. So I pulled some wording out here to highlight that. So as part of demonstrating a steady and consistent record of teaching, outcomes from student involvement in undergraduate research, whether that's an abstract or a poster presentation or a publication, those are all ways to demonstrate the teaching that you're doing. Also, this is going to be a nice tie-in with the USU Honors Program. So students in that program have various requirements that research can fit into very nicely, whether that's an experience during the program or kind of their capstone project. Research fits very nicely there. Also, this is just another way of demonstrating that we're engaging with students outside of the classroom. Many times research can't be done only during the class period. And so there's a lot of mentoring that occurs outside of that time, mentoring in terms of presentations, publications. So these are great ways to demonstrate teaching excellence. So what are some resources? So USU has so many resources for mentorship, for funding, and great opportunities to present and publish their research. I wanted to highlight the website so you'll know where to find these things when you're working with your students. So let me switch to the website. So the Office of Research has a great undergraduate research page, and I'm going to focus on this tab that's for students. So for example, in terms of funding your research, great opportunities. ERCO grants are grants that students can apply for with support from their faculty mentors. There's also other opportunities for travel, etc. Awesome fellowship opportunities. So the undergraduate research fellowship program, summer fellowship programs, and also any current research opportunities are highlighted here. So as a faculty member, if you have a project that you need students to participate in, this could be a good place to have that highlighted as well. Let's look also at where to present your research. Excellent opportunities here at Utah State. You can see this picture is highlighting a research symposium in the library, and students get to share their research in poster form or presentation form in some cases, and it's a great way for them to gain practice in discussing the work that they've done. So there's a symposium in the fall, and here on campus, and there's also the USU Student Research Symposium in the spring as well. Also, this website keeps updated information about presenting opportunities outside of the university as well, such as the Utah Conference on Undergraduate Research, Utah Research on Capitol Hill, as well as some national opportunities. So the National Conference on Undergraduate Research and a cool program called Scholars Transforming Through Research program, kind of a national program to support students presenting their research. I wanted to show also that USU has publication options as well. So they have an undergraduate research journal called Curiosity. So it's peer reviewed and is a great way for students to be able to publish their research from their undergraduate research. Also, another thing to keep in mind is that digital commons through the library, student posters, similar type articles that they may write, those can also be published on digital commons. And it's really nice that digital commons kind of keeps track of the views and the downloads, and that can be a great way for students to share their work as well. Okay. Let me go back to our slides. Okay, so in terms of Utah resources, we saw some info on the website, but there's the Utah Conference on Undergraduate Research. So universities all across the state, their undergraduate researchers can present their work there. And another fun one is Utah Research on Capitol Hill. It used to be referred to as Posters on the Hill. You can see in this photo that students, primarily University of Utah and Utah State students, bring their posters to the rotunda of the state capitol and get to share their work with legislators and really highlight the work that they're doing. And as I mentioned, also, we saw on the website some national resources in terms of conferences and training and presentation opportunities for students. I wanted to share some example mentoring strategies. So here's an example of mentoring an undergraduate student outside of class. So in this case, my student was also an honors student, and as a capstone project had interest in doing undergraduate research. So in the case of this student, nutrition and dietetics is my area. So my student wanted to learn more about nutrition knowledge among firefighters. So I was able to mentor her in a survey research project that she did to really gain more information about firefighters and their nutrition knowledge. So this was a great opportunity for my student. She was able to present her work at the local, at USU, that symposium in the spring. Also to the Utah Council on Undergraduate Research, that presentation as well. And we don't want to forget our professional conferences where undergraduate students can present as well. In our case, the student presented at the Utah Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics annual meeting. And this work is in the process of being published in the USU Student Research Journal, Curiosity. Sometimes undergraduate research can take place in class. So in this example, research was included in the class. It met many of the competencies that students needed to achieve. And so it worked out in this case for students to be involved with the whole process, coming up with the idea all the way to presenting and publishing their research. So again, they were able to share this research both at USU as well as a professional meeting. And in this case, it did result in a peer-reviewed publication, which of course is beneficial for students as they move forward with their graduate work or with careers. Kind of another strategy we may not think of initially, where Utah State and many other universities are land grant states, and there's an extension component of the university. We can be thinking about if a extension fact sheet could be a good fit. So, for example, in our department, students have a class assignment where they write a paper that essentially is a literature review and then a synthesis of that into some really practical and user-friendly tips. So in that class, all students have to complete this assignment, and kind of the best submissions, those students are invited to continue to work on that assignment, work with faculty to have that submitted as an extension fact sheet. Then there's a peer review process before that is published on the extension website and made available to the public. So in this case, this would be both an inside of the classroom and an outside of the classroom undergraduate research experience, in that all students, got the practice of writing a fact sheet, and then the top submissions, those students are mentored outside of the classroom to further refine and have theirs published. So in conclusion, we just want to be aware of the benefits of undergraduate research, both for students and for faculty, being mindful of the ways that undergraduate research ties to a teaching faculty's role statement, and also remembering all the great resources. Utah State has so many, and the website also highlights so many throughout the state and nationwide that are available to students. And again, strategies, find the ones that work for you and make sense with your role in the courses you teach, whether that's going to be embedding research into your classwork or mentoring individual students outside of the class on specific projects. And if you have any questions, I would be happy to discuss this further. So you're welcome to contact me at my email address below. Enjoy the rest of the conference.